Hello, everyone. My name is Lynn Wood. I'm a student services assistant at East Los Angeles College. This is my partner, my wife, my
Hello.
Anne. I'm going to be reading from a book today that I had been reading from in January.
You didn't read it this month at all?
February was Black History Month, so I put this book down and I picked up a book by Audre Lorde, I believe. Oh no, it was Angela Davis,
Right,
sorry. Angela Davis.
Another fabulous Black woman.
Yeah. And so I read that for the month of February. Of course, the shortest month is Black History Month. And so I'm back to my book, The Full of the Stars by Emma Donoghue. And Anne is going to read some poetry from The Black Unicorn by Audre Lorde.
Yeah.
This book is set in Dublin in 1918. She works in a maternity ward. Before I do that, though, I wanted to share some resources with you. One of them is my email address. It's Wood, C-L, W-O-O-D, C as in cat, L as in Larry, @elac.edu. And the resources that I have to share are food resources, the Garage Board Shop in East LA. They do a weekly food giveaway that you don't have to register for. It is a walk-up one. You just need to bring a cart because they do give you pounds of food. It's on Fridays. The other one you don't have to register for is Eastmont Community Center. They're also on Fridays. They are a drive-up. And then for LGBTQ plus specific folks, Mi Centro in Boyle Heights, they're doing a pride pantry, and they're a small organization, so they're only serving about 10 families each week, so you do need to register for theirs. It's Mi Centro in Boyle Heights. And then, of course, on our campus, our student resource, Student Health Center is a great resource. My mouth got ahead of was behind my brain, sorry. My brain was faster than my mouth.
I ain't such a none of that.
The Student Health Center, it's a great resource. So of course we're in this virtual world, but the healthcare provider is Via Care, and they are still open for in-person services for students. You would just call them. All of this information is available on elac.edu. If you just search for the Student Health Center, they have the phone number listed there to call. You just say you're an ELAC student. Via Care is not going to verify that you've paid your fees or anything like that. They're just going to verify that you are a student, and then you're eligible for services. They are doing COVID testing. They're doing COVID vaccines. Of course, we're in the healthcare workers, educators, and those that are 65 and older. If you're an ELAC student that's 65 and up, you can contact Via Care and let them know that you need the vaccine, and they'll get you an appointment. They have mental health services. They also have well woman services. So if you need mammogram and sexual reproductive birth control, that's what I'm trying to say, sorry. Ew, squirrel outside. Anyway, I think that's all the resources I have. So I'm going to continue on and read my book. It's called The Pull of the Stars by Emma Donoghue. Emma Donoghue is a lesbian. That's how I came across this book, finding LGBTQ authors.
Who found it?
Oh, that would be Anne. That's why
yes,
she's saying that. And last we were, it's like the never-ending cycle in the maternity ward, right? There's ladies that are pregnant. They discovered they don't know what this flu is, this great flu that's happening, and they're doing autopsies and seeing the organs of these pregnant ladies. And she's going home and discussing stuff with her brother who's been in the war, and he's come back from the war, and he's
World War I.
Yeah, it's World War I. He's come back from the war, and he physically doesn't appear to be injured, but he has some sort of mental injury. It's probably like a percussion injury or something. So I'm just going to start I'm on page 219. It says, when I put the back of my hand to her gray cheek, it was clammy with sweat. Are you nauseated, Mrs. White? I thought she nodded, but I couldn't be sure. Her pressure's dropping, doctor. She might lose consciousness at any moment. Dr. Lynn stared. For once, she seemed at a loss. In that case, she said, I doubt saline will be enough. Mrs. White needs blood, but the hospital stocks are awfully low. I wonder, would there be any walk-in donors in the building? Walking donors. So somebody walking around in the hospital that's willing to give blood right at this moment. That's crazy. Donors on the hoof. That was the jocular phrase. My mind cleared and I told her, we nurses are all on the register. I'll do it. Oh, but I'm right here. You wouldn't even need to do a cross match. My type is O, the universal blood donor. That made the doctor's face brighten. I hurried to get the sterile kit from the top shelf. Behind me, I heard Honor White cough shrilly as the next pangs pulled her back into the eye of the storm. The doctor told her, keep pushing if you're able. Honor White groaned as she bore down. The bed was a sea of red. I readied my left arm by whirling it a couple of dozen times. Bertie watched as if witnessing some. The dog has seen the squirrel. Brighty. I always mix that up. It's like a dyslexic moment for me. It's Brighty, and I keep seeing Bertie. Hey, squirrel. Okay. Bertie watched as if witnessing some arcane ritual. I checked the other patients. Mary O'Reilly was somehow sleeping through all this, but Delilah Garrett asked, what on earth is going on? Just transfusing some blood, I said glibly, as if it were something I did every day. No room for a chair by her cot, so I perched on the edge, unbuttoned my cuff from the trembling right hand. I wasn't afraid, only thrilled at the prospect of giving exact what was needed. Dr. Lynn said loudly, Mrs. White, I'm going to put a pint of Nurse Power's blood into you. No response. Was she sliding down beyond our reach? I took her pulse again. It's climbing to 115, doctor. Her heart was pumping faster to compensate for the fact that she was bleeding to death. Bertie, Brighty, said the doctor. A glass of water for Nurse Power. I almost barked, don't waste time, but I was a patient now, so I held my tongue. The doctor would need my artery for fresher blood and stronger flow to help her pump it faster into the sinking woman. So I offered her the thumb side of my wrist, hoping she had the knack of locating the deep radial pulse. Dr. Lynn refused it. No, those little arteries hurt like the devil, and there's the risk of leaking and embolism. I really don't mind. You're too necessary to risk your health, nurse. Besides, I read an article that said vein to vein assisted by gravity will do in a pinch. In a pinch, was that where we were now? And had the doctor never actually tried this vein to vein technique before? She slid her warm hand into the crook of my elbow. When she found the best vein, she bounced on it a few times. I looked away and drained the glass of water Brighty was holding out. Oddly enough, I was squeamish when it came to anything piercing my own skin.
Yeah, I don't like it either.
I don't care for it either. Dr. Lynn only took 2 goes to get the needle in, which wasn't half bad for a physician.
I already chased him away.
A dark line of blood filled the tube, and she turned the stopcock before it could spill. Rapidly, she bandaged the apparatus onto my arm, but Honor White's head was falling back, her eyelids closed. Were we too late? Another contraction seized her now, ghastly to watch, an unseen monster shaking her limp body on crimson. I said, do it. Dr. Lynn was calmly attaching my tubing to the other metal syringe. She tied Honor White's arm to make the veins stand out, but they were flat as string. With that, my right hand took the pulse on the woman's other wrist, up to 120 now and so faint. The doctor still couldn't find a vein on the dying woman. Heat, my voice came out almost angrily. Bridie, dip a clean cloth in the pot of hot water. Dr. Lynn murmured, I almost have the bugger. But for all the probing and prodding, Honor White's veins kept rolling under the doctor's finger. When Bridie brought over the hot cloth, I snatched it myself, and despite my impediments, I flapped it in the air 2 or 3 times to release some steam so it wouldn't burn Honor White, then folded it over and pressed it along her inner arm. Can you, Nurse Power? Dr. Lynn offered me the handle of the syringe. Even in a hurry, I respected her for knowing this was a moment when all her study and experience was no match for a nurse. I grabbed the syringe and pulled the hot cloth off Honor White's arm. There on the pink flushed skin was a bright little blue line, a creek in a canyon. I beat out a rhythm on it with my fingertips. Stay alive, Mrs. White. The wary blood vessel rose a little, just enough, and I slid the needle in. Woo! I was on the edge of my seat there. Dr. Lynn took over promptly, bandaging the tube onto the slumped patient so it wouldn't slip out. Stand up, she urged me. I leapt off the cot. As soon as she opened the stopcock, my blood began to flow down the tube. The doctor seized my left hand and set it on her own shoulder. To keep it high, my elbow locked. She pressed my flesh above the needle so hard I almost cried out. She squeezed my arm, milking me of life. Hearing some commotion in the corridor, I jerked. Could it be the police coming back, still hunting Dr. Lynn? Either she hadn't heard anything or she had nerves of steel. A captain in the rebel army, I remembered, bullets whizzing past her like hail. Dr. Lynn murmured, now I can't be sure how much I'm taking, Nurse Power. So do speak at once if you feel faint. With my other hand, I gripped the head of the bed just in case. Let it not clot. We hadn't a minute to change a clogged tube or decant of my blood and add sodium to keep it liquid.
Fascinating.
Flow, flow, red waterfall, keep flowing into this woman. Mother and child doing their best to walk in the midst of shadow of death. Could I see a slight flush rising in Honor White's chalky face? Suddenly the woman blinked at me. You're all right, dear, I assured her. Not true yet, I hope, in the form of a lie. I added, you should be feeling stronger soon. She let out a husky scream. The O'Reilly baby in her crib gave a start and mewed. Honor White tried to sit up. Dr. Lynn ordered, stay still. Honor White began thrashing about. I kept my right hand pressed over the needle in my left arm to keep it there and clamped my left hand over hers so she wouldn't yank out the tube. Mrs. White, was she going into convulsions like poor Ida Noonan had? No, not that. Red face now, shuddering. She clutched her sides as if they might burst, then scratched at her face, her neck, panting, trying to say something. Pale hives rising. Dr. Lynn muttered wrathfully, transfusion reaction.
Yeah.
I was appalled. I'd only heard of this. I had never seen it. Honor White was wheezing wildly as she clawed at herself, raising livid wails. The doctor twisted the stopcock and tugged off Honor White's bandage. Bridie struggled to hold the woman still. What's happening? Something in Mrs. White's blood doesn't like mine.
So even though she
was a universal donor.
But it has to be negative or positive, right?
There are always exceptions, Dr. Lynn said. We couldn't have known.
Did she die?
She whipped the tube out of the needle in Honor White's arm. My blood jetted across the floor, unwanted now, somewhat noxious. I pulled the needle and tube right out of my own arm, pressed hard on the puncture to stop the bleeding. We could do nothing about the maddening itch. Honor White's body way of trying to fight off the alien blood. She was gasping like a consumptive. I bent all my efforts on urging her to calm and breathe. Dr. Lynn was scrubbing at the sink. At a moment like this, why on earth did she need to wash her hands? Then I realized there was no hope but to get this baby into the air before the mother bled out. I called, "You'll find a sterile pair of forceps on the, I see them. Bridie," I gripped Mrs. White and held her as Dr. Lynn went in for the first branch of the forceps. Honor White let out a long howl, then the other branch. Dr. Lynn muttered, yes, staring into space as she tightened her grip and curled her index finger into the ring of the hinge. I told Honor White, a huge push this time, though she didn't look as if she could even lift her head. Who was I to order this woman to go beyond her power? "If you'd press the uterus fundus, nurse," asked the doctor. I put my hand on the top of Honor White's bump, waited for the wave to take her, then I bore down. She screamed, "Steady, steady," and here comes the face. Without rushing, Dr. Lynn guided the head out in her tongs, new eyes blinking through a wash of scarlet, turned the heavens stargazer. Was the infant going to drown in its mother's blood? I flailed around to find a clean cloth and wipe the nose and mouth. Dr. Lynn murmured, "Wait for it, one more push." I got behind Honor White and held her up to help her breathe. I swore it'll be over soon, thinking one way or another. She stirred a little and her eyes widened. She coughed with the sound of something ripping. On the next pang, she shoved back so hard the bed rail bit into my ribs. The whole baby slithered out of her. "Well done," Dr. Lynn said. "Congratulations, Mrs. White, you have a son." I held out a blanket to take him. Unprompted, he let out a cry. At first, I thought the doctor's forceps had cut his mouth. Then I recognized the kinked line. He was born hair-lipped, but a healthy size for being a few weeks before full term, and a good hue. Dr. Lynn was concentrating on stemming the bleeding. She massaged Dr. White's collapsed belly, Honor White's collapsed belly, before the top persuaded her uterus to squeeze the afterbirth. Now the cord's pulse slowed. This infant had all that was going to get from it. I asked Bridie to bring me over the instrument tray. I tied the slippery blue rope in 2 places and scissored through. "Could you warm up a pint of salines, nurse?" I bundled the white baby in a towel, set him in the crib, and told Bridie to watch him. "Speak up if he seems to choke or changes color." I think I'm going to stop here.
Was Bridie a
She's like a
patient?
student intern.
I was like, because I thought she was a patient. I'm like, they're going to do all kinds of shit.
She's like a student intern. Oh, it was Harry walking. I thought it was a squirrel in her house.
No, I wouldn't let this girl in. So I've been coloring. I got these gel pens. Pretty. This is a cool book. Anyway. Okay, so get the poetry book. This is Black Unicorn, poems by Audre Lorde. Copyright 1978. She's a very famous Black lesbian writer. Okay. The first poem is called The Black Unicorn. The black unicorn is greedy. The black unicorn is impatient. The black unicorn was mistaken for a shadow or a symbol and taken through a cold country where mist painted mockeries of my fury. It is not on her lap where the horn rests, but deep in her moon pit, growing. The black unicorn is restless. The black unicorn is unrelenting. The black unicorn is not free. This is entitled A Woman Speaks. Moon marked and touched by sun, my magic is unwritten, but when the sea turns back, it will leave my shape behind. I seek no favor, untouched by blood, unrelenting as the curse of love, permanent as my errors or my pride. I do not mix love with pity, nor hate with scorn. And if you would know me, look into the entrails of Uranus, where the restless oceans pound. I do not dwell within my birth, nor my divinities, who am ageless and half grown, and still seeking my sisters, witches in Dahomey, wear me inside their coiled cloths, as our mother did, mourning. I have been woman for a long time. Beware my smile, I am treacherous with old magic, and the noon's new fury, with all your wide futures promised. I am woman, I am a woman, and I am not white. This one is called From the House of Yemanja. I'm just going to go with that. My mother had two faces and a frying pot where she cooked up her daughters into girls before she fixed our dinner. My mother had two faces with a broken pot where she hid out a perfect daughter who was not me. I am the sun and moon and forever hungry for her eyes. I bear two women upon my back, one dark and rich and hidden in the ivory hungers of the other mother, pale as a witch, yet steady and familiar, brings me bread and terror in my sleep. Her breasts are huge, exciting anchors in the midnight storm. All this has been before in my mother's bed. Time has no sense. I have no brothers, and my sisters are cruel. Mother, I need, mother, I need, mother, I need your blackness now, as the August earth needs rain. I am the sun and moon, and forever hungry, the sharpened edge where day and night shall meet and not be one. I don't know how to pronounce that, so I'm not going to read that one. I'll look it up later. A rock thrown into the water does not fear the cold. That's the title. In front of the hotel, the city hotel in Kumasi, two horned snails come at twilight to eat the foot-long speckled snake dead on an evening wall from sudden violent storm. Their white extended bodies gently sucking take sweetness from the stiffening shape as darkness overtakes them. Sounds like a metaphor for something else. This one is called Dahomey. In spite of the fire's heat, the tongs can fetch it. In spite of the fire's heat, the tongs can fetch it. Okay. I was in Abome. It was in Abome that I felt the full blood of my father's wars, and where I found my mother, Sebulisa, standing with outstretched palms, hip high, one breast eaten away by worms of sorrow, magic stones resting upon her fingers, dry as a cough. In the doorway of the brass workers, four women joined together, dyeing cloth, mock Eshu's iron quiver, standing erect and flamingly familiar in their doorway, their dooryard. Mute as a porcupine in a forest of lead, in the courtyard of the cloth workers, other brothers and nephews are stitching bright tapestries into tales of blood. Thunder is a woman with braided hair, spelling the Fas of Shango. asleep between sacred pythons that cannot read nor eat the ritual offerings of the Asane. My throat in the panther's lair is unresisting. Bearing two drums on my head, I speak whatever language is needed to sharpen the knives of my tongue. The snake is aware, although sleeping under my blood. Since I am a woman, whether or not you are against me, I will braid my hair, even in the seasons of rain. This one is called 125th Street and Abome. I have a feeling 125th Street is a reference to New York City. Head bent, walking through snow, I see you, Sebulisa, printed inside the back of my head, like marks of the newly wrapped acai that kept my sleep fruitful in Dahomey. And I poured on the red earth in your honor those ancient parts of me, most precious and least needed, my well-guarded past, the energy-eating secrets I surrendered to you as a libation, mother. I surrendered to you as a libation, mother. Illuminate my offering of old victories over men, over women, over myself. Who has never before dared to whistle into the night? Take my fear of being alone, like my warrior sisters, who rode in defense of your queendom. Disguised and apart, give me the woman's strength of tongue in this cold season. Half earth and time splits us apart like struck rock. A peace lives, elegant stories to simply put, while a dream on the edge of summer of brown rain and neem trees, snail shells from the dooryard of King Tofa. Bring me where my blood moves, Sebulisa, mother goddess, with one breast eaten away by worms of sorrow and loss. See me now, your severed daughter, laughing our name into echo, all the world shall remember. Very intense. Just a lot of symbolism all throughout. This is called Harriet. I have a feeling it's about Harriet Tubman. But Harriet, there was always something calling us crazy or mean or stuck up or evil or black. And we were nappy girls, quick as cuttlefish, scurrying for cover, trying to speak the pain in each other's mouths, until we learned on the edge of a lash or a tongue, on the edge of the other's betrayal, that respect meant keeping our distance in silence, averting our eyes from each other's face in the street, from the beautiful dark mouth and cautious familiar eyes, passing alone. I remember you, Harriet, before we were broken apart. We dreamed the crossed swords of warrior queens while we avoided each other's eyes, and we learned to know lonely, and the earth learns to know dead. And we learned to know lonely as the worth. And we avoided each other's eyes, and we learned to know lonely as the earth learns to know dead. Harriet, Harriet, what name shall we call ourselves now? Our mother is gone. That's our true Lord, baby.
Yeah.
Want to read another one? Okay. They're all very intense, and some of them are kind of long. I was trying to look for short ones. This one looks like a really good, intense one. Okay. Chain. News item. 2 girls, 15 and 16, were sent to foster homes because they had born children from their natural father. I'm sorry, the cat grabbed me. Later, they petitioned the New York courts to be returned to their parents, who the girls said loved them, and the courts did so. I guess this is like an introduction to the poem. Faces surround me that have no smell or color or time, only strange laughing testaments, vomiting promise like love. But look at the skeleton children advancing against us. Beneath their faces, there is no less sunlight, no darkness, no heat remains, no legends. To bring them back as women into their bodies at dawn. Look at the skeleton children advancing against us. We will find womanhood in their eyes. As they cry, which of you bore me? As they cry, which of you bore me, will love me, will claim my blindness as yours? And which of you marches into battle from between my legs? On the porch outside my door, girls are lying like felled maples in the path of my feet. I cannot step past them nor over them. Their slim bodies roll like smooth tree trunks, repeating themselves over and over, until my porch is covered with the bodies of young girls. Some have a child in their arms. To what death shall I look for comfort? Which mirror to break or mourn? Two girls repeat themselves in my doorway. Their eyes are not stone. Their flesh is not wood nor steel. But I can touch them. Shall I warn them of night or offer them bread or a song? They are sisters. Their father has known them. Their father has known them over and over. The twins they carry are his. Whose death shall we mourn in the forest, unburied? Winter has come, and the children are dying. One begs me to hold her between my breasts, or write me a poem, mother. Here, over my flesh, get your words upon me, as he got his child upon me, our father lover, thief in the night, who do not be so angry with us. We told him your bed was whiter, but he said if we did it then, we would be his good children. If we did it then, he would love us. Oh, make us a poem, mother, that will tell us his name in your language. Is he father or lover? I enter old places bearing your shape, trapped behind the sharp smell of your anger in my voice, sorry, I apologize. That will tell us his name in your language. Is he father or lover? We will leave your word for our children, engraved on a whip or a gold scissors, to tell them the lies of their birth. Another says, mother, I'm holding your place. Do you know me better than I knew him or myself? Am I his daughter or girlfriend? Am I your child or your rival? Am I your daughter or girlfriend? I am your child. Am I your child or your rival? You wish to be gone from his bed. Is he your granddaughter, mother? Here is your granddaughter, mother. Give us your blessing before I sleep. What other secrets do you have to tell me? How to learn to love her as you have loved me? Gosh, I'm sorry, I had a hard time reading that. Am I his daughter or girlfriend? Am I your child or your rival? You wish to be gone from his bed. Here is your granddaughter, mother. Give us your blessing before I sleep. What other secrets do you have to tell me? How do I learn to love her as you have loved me? Oh man, that was so sad.
Yeah, super intense. So thank you for a little light reading today, babe.
You know, I'll be honest with you. I ordered this book because I already love Art of the Lord, but I didn't get to reading the poems yet. I was trying to read another book called Invisible Man by Ralph Ellison. He's a very famous Black author who was recommended to me by James Baldwin.
Anyway, thank you for tuning in today. My name is Lynn Wood. Just to give out my email address, it's woodcl@elac.edu. Feel free to send me an email. You are a student, you know of a student who's struggling in our system or wants to get started. Feel free to send me an email and I'll see what I can do to help them or help you. I hope you have a great day. I hope you're safe and warm wherever you are. And I look forward to seeing you again soon. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for reading today, babe.
Peace and love. Yes, thank you. Thanks for letting me.